Hello and welcome back to New Art Gallery podcast. New Art Gallery is a fast-growing online art gallery with a unique approach to bringing artists and art lovers together. And as always on the podcast, we'll be chatting to some of the artist, photographer and crafter members of the New Art Gallery family. Our aim is to hopefully give you an insight into their work, into what inspires them and what drives them to become creatives in their field. So do look out for and subscribe to future editions of New Art Gallery podcast. We're on Podbean, Spotify, YouTube, and of course, newartgallery.co.uk. And who knows, you may be inspired yourself to add some of our featured artists' work to your home or office. Today's guest is an international emerging artist. Her work colourfully depicts her profound emotions and spiritual journey. She creates wondrous compositions filled with energy, movement, feeling, and colour. She's upcoming exhibitions in London and New York, and her work has been described as a controlled explosion of enamouring vitality, and that certainly is true. Just looking at the vibrant use of colour, usually in acrylic paints on stretched canvas. The style of her painting varies, and this has included representational, abstract, and expressionism. And she describes the creation of her works as a meditative and relaxing experience, or conversely, energizing and releasing. Having lived in London, New York, and Egypt, studied in Madrid, Granada, and Barcelona, in Spain, she now paints from her private studio based in Bolton, Lancashire, here in the UK. So, without further ado, let's dive right in and introduce Caroline Boff. Caroline, welcome to New Art Gallery podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here, and I'm really looking forward to, and so are our listeners and viewers, to learning a little bit more about you and your work. So welcome. How are you today?
Oh, bless you. I'm good. How are you? Happy to be here.
Excellent. I'm all right. And you're a fellow Boltonian, aren't you? I believe, or is that right?
In the end.
Oh, in the end, yeah. So the weather today, my gosh, it feels like I was back in Turkey a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, very nice. Did you have a good time?
Yes, yeah, I did. To be fair, it wasn't quite. Sorry, it was hotter than this, but today is pretty warm, isn't it?
We need air conditioning.
Yeah, yeah. We're not built for that here in the UK. So.
I bought like 3 air conditioners this year because I was so hot last year. I couldn't, so I was like, I'm buying 3. My mum's got 2, but I've got mine on, so I'm happy.
Oh, so you must be nice and cool then. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Fine. Yeah, fine. Well, I'm actually in the basement, and upstairs in the sort of like conservatory bit is just absolutely baking when there's a bit of sunshine. So
it must be better to have fewer windows.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I do have a window. They don't just lock me down here. So yeah.
Yeah. It's bad behavior.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so welcome to the podcast. And this is as I mentioned, this is our second. The first one was a bit of a pilot, just to work out, iron out a few creases. So this is really the first proper podcast that we're doing. So welcome. And I suppose let's dive right in there. Tell us about you. Tell us about your background. Over to you.
Okay. So I'm Caroline. I'm a self-taught artist. So far I'm starting an MA in fine art in October actually this year. So that's exciting. At the Open College of Art. So distance learning is super handy. I can learn from home, which I love. My studio's at home, which is perfect for me. I've got a BSc in Economics and Sociology from Bristol. I've got a BSc. No, I haven't. I'm lying. I have a diploma in psychology from Bolton, but I totally just changed direction after a while, and art found me really again. So I just feel really lucky. I've kind of lived back in the day. I lived abroad, worked abroad, studied abroad in Spain and Cairo and places like that. And I don't know. Sometimes I just feel that all the kind of travel and whatever experiences are helping me to paint in the current day. You know, whether it's just with the music I listen to or the musings I have and stuff like that. So I don't know. I kind of typical Piscean think everything happens for a reason. So romantic, creative dreamer.
Yeah.
So yeah. So still the same, but just doing what I love finally. So I feel very lucky.
Yeah, that is a lucky thing. I mean, I always keep telling my kids, I mean, they're nowhere near this yet, but my son started secondary school yesterday. So, but I always sort of tell them, if you can find something that you love doing, and then try and find a way of making money out of it or doing that, you'll never really work a day in your life because you're following your passion.
Very true. You couldn't say a truer word. That's why I don't, even when there's something stressful to do, it's not as stressful because I love what I'm doing. So it's not, it just, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah. So it's true.
Having said that, you've got lots of backups. I mean, you've got a lot of very academic background. Is that right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's totally, yeah.
Well,
It's totally It's totally in subjects that are nothing to do with art. But then again, I don't know. It kind of like even the different subjects still influences my work. Like, I don't know, some of my early work isn't on my website, but it was kind of when I was going through a rough time and it was dark and it was a bit, well, tortured and things like that. But that's kind of my journey from being and doing something that I didn't like to doing something actually that I love. And
mm,
so sometimes I feel like you have to go through these experiences to build on your artwork in the end. It gives it kind of like more depth. And so then when I started doing colourful paintings, it was kind of like, it was so exciting and so pleasurable because it was like hope, it was like love and hope, really. And so I don't really regret anything I've done because it's like it's brought me to where I am today and I've got kind of more experiences to draw from. So yeah.
yeah.
So, I'm quite positive about it. But I mean, obviously I'm lucky as well to have had those experiences. So pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I was going to say you studied non-art subjects, sociology, psychology, and economics. I think you said. Just go into that a little bit more. How have those kind of subjects, especially like the sociology and the psychology, that must have had some real effect in terms of how that's affected your work?
Well, I think sociology in particular, actually, that touched me more than any of the others, and kind of like I always say at university, what I learn is how much I don't know. That's kind of what I learn, and apart from having fun, but but I did learn. That's really what I learned: how much I don't know, and how much kind of lack of control any of us really have. Although that's not a very nice thought sometimes to have, but at the same time, as an artist, it lets you like release your energy and passion onto the canvas because you think, well, let's just see what happens. It's kind of a more creative process in doing that. So, yeah, I mean, sociology I did find interesting. I didn't like economics. Psychology was okay, but I found it a bit saddening. But yeah, again, it's just brought me to where I am today, and it kind of, it helps me to let go as an artist and as a person. So yeah, I'm grateful. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you on the letting go thing, and we can often try and control lots of things in our lives, and that can drive us insane. And the beauty of living is realizing that 90% of the stuff is out of your control.
Yeah, totally. And that's why art can be so useful as well, because it really can fire the imagination. And even just as somebody who isn't particularly an art lover or just views an art for a few seconds, it really can touch that person because I know I'm into art, as in I love it, but that's what happened to me. Like I'd go into an art gallery with a friend years ago and they'd be kind of off, and I'm sure it probably happens to them in a different way, but I remember seeing just paintings and thinking, this is absolutely amazing. Like, I'd love to do this. I mean, I, yeah, I do adore art. I do adore being an artist. And even though it can be stressful, it's just like a dream come true. It really is. And yeah.
That's wonderful. No, it's wonderful that you followed your dream. Now, um, you're a fellow of the Royal Society of Arts. So for people who aren't familiar with that, and New Art Gallery, we believe that art is for everyone. What does that mean to be a fellow of the Royal Arts Society of Arts?
I guess it just means, well, it kind of means different things to different people because there are lots of different kind of job types that you can have and roles associated with it. But for me, it's hope. It's giving hope to society and culture, even in whichever way possible. So for me, generally, it's online. So I don't know if you've had a look at my Instagram and Facebook and social media and things, but I have a relatively large position on social media, and I do a lot of virtual reality exhibitions, and I'm getting into that, hopefully doing that for people anywhere, of any institution or organization who want to create a virtual reality art exhibition for the purposes of well-being, really. And so I guess that's an element of something that I would do for the RSA. But also, again, I just think it's just giving hope, and it's adding to the dialogue of, okay, some people might not like my work, but what about the people who it does touch? And what about the people who, think, wow, like this is actually something which you can actually do and such good can come from it. And it really can give hope and a breath of fresh air. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it. I mean, everyone's different. Everyone does it in a different way, but that's what I do.
That's brilliant. I love that virtual reality art gallery. I mean, that fits with us, online art gallery, things like that. So
Yeah.
maybe we should team up on that one.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
There's definitely something there. But also my son's he's just got a MetaQuest VR headset. So certainly for
Wow.
that generation, those kind of things would be fantastic.
Yeah, because I'm doing a metaverse art gallery exhibition in December, actually, through a company in California, and they're doing this kind of, they created this avatar. And I mean, I play a few computer games, not loads, but I do a bit, and so that helped me like navigate around my own gallery. I was like, oh my gosh, how do I do this? But once you get into it, it's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. So your work, and this is, I think this is quite amazing. Your work's been featured in magazines such as Vogue, Tatler, House and Garden, Vanity Fair. Some really amazing achievements. Tell us about that. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, okay. So, well, like this again, I feel like I'm being too girly. Like, stop me if I'm just like over girlifying everything. But like, really, it's true though. Like, when I was at my friend's house when I was a teenager, she had like a Vogue on the table, and I was like, oh, what's like having a look through it. And I came across the art gallery because they have a Vogue gallery, it's called, in the magazine every month. And I was looking at the artwork, and I was like, and I thought, I was just so, I was like, I want to be in that. And then I just kind of like closed the book and carried on, but then thought about it and thought, that would be so amazing. And then kind of how many years later, like 25 years later, it happened. And again, Piscean, everything's happening for a reason. It's so true. Like, and what you kind of, I believe in all that. I don't know if you've watched The Secret or read the book, like kind of
I haven't.
it's kind of it's really good if you're into that sort of thing. It's kind of like what you really love and who you are and what you want will attract you'll attract each other. So you kind of, if you really, really want something, you will get it. You just
Right.
have to kind of put gratitude in place and all these things. And I don't know, I've just always been into like, my dad was quite like that as well. He was quite interested in that sort of thing. So I just feel like, yeah, my wildest dreams came true, and I just can't believe it sometimes. Like, wow, look at that over there. But yeah, so
That's
um,
fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting, and to be like in Vogue and Rihanna's on the front cover and think, oh, she's probably like Rihanna's probably seen one of my paintings. Like, how amazing, it's exciting. But yeah, no, I feel really grateful and really, again, like, to have a platform to show your art to such an important audience is incredible, and yeah, I couldn't be more happy about it.
That's fantastic, and yeah, like I say, an amazing achievement. So I want to talk a little bit, or you to talk a little bit. I want to do less talking or no talking. What is your process, and how do you your artwork? And we'll talk about a few pieces in a minute. I'll get a few up on screen. Is hugely creative. How do you decide what to create? What inspires you?
Yeah, I people have asked me this before, and I've been a bit like, gosh, like what is my process? I just kind of do it, and I'm had to really think like what my process was. And really, just all I do is really simple things. Like I sit on my couch and just sit there and like look at my paintings. My studio's in my home. And so I kind of in my living room, dining room thing. And so I sit on my couch and I have a cup of tea, very rock and roll, and I just look around and think, okay, I've done that. Like, what would I like to do next? And I just kind of don't think about it too hard. I kind of just let it marinate. And then I'm kind of like, I don't know. And I look at photos of mine, I look at Upsplash, and then I kind of half the time what I do is kind of ring my brother or my mum or listen to music. I kind of or put Sky Arts on the TV. I kind of like have to have that input from somewhere, but it's kind of loved ones, it's not really, I mean, you never know, but an art studio, like an official art studio where there are other artists isn't sort of my thing. I kind of quite like being at home and speaking to loved ones, but that's really it. I mean, the only other thing is I don't know, you can see like a bit of my art area there. And I kind of sometimes if I don't know what to do, I kind of just walk around it and just like look at my materials, and that's it. Like it's really simple, but this is what I mean. Like somehow in doing that, you can suddenly get an idea, and then it's like, wow, okay, and then you do it and that's it. And so yeah, it's like keep it simple, stupid. I'm talking about myself. Like I have to, because otherwise, yeah, if you think I feel like if you think about it too much, then it's harder. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of, yeah, just let it happen.
Yeah, it sounds like an environment thing. I think it sounds like you're describing the right environment is more important. And I don't know if you know Jerry Halpin. He kind of he
Yeah.
would say when we asked him that question, he'd say, "Well, I go for a walk and I go up to Rivington and I go around the countryside, and that's his environment." Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. Well, yeah, again, like so relaxing and taking in the vistas and everything. So yeah, I can understand why he does that. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely, it sounds like an environment thing. So, um, now I see that some of your artwork it features another art form, namely poetry, and obviously there's many
Yeah.
artists who are also poets, of course. Tell us a little bit about that, the poetry side.
So again, luckily, read a bit of poetry growing up, and again, it touched me. I'm not a huge reader of novels or anything like that, but I think it really is the Piscean thing, like just romantic in me. It just really does get to me in a really intense way. And so I kind of thought, well, I'm not a poet, but I love poetry. So how can I amalgamate the two? So I was just like, right, keep it simple, put it on my paintings,
Yeah.
And but I mean, but it's a way for me to celebrate my love of poetry and my paintings in one place. And also it's not really done arbitrarily. It's kind of like, well, it's not really. I love Shakespeare. I love Maya Angelou. She's amazing poet. And so yeah, I have written some of those poems and sonnets on my paintings. But I kind of I'm just getting a bit emotional thinking about it. But I will read like sonnets and just go through them, and after painting a painting, and think, how do I want to, like, which sonnet can I use that would speak to the audience or to me or whoever through this painting? And so there has been a thought process going into it in terms of how to amalgamate the two. So hopefully it might touch some other people, because it certainly did to me. And I just, yeah, it's a way of celebrating what I love. So yeah.
Excellent. No, I love that. I picked up on it straight away, and I love the idea of having words in a painting as well. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
It's kind of like almost like a juxtaposition, isn't it? Like pictures and the words, but ultimately it's all art, really. It's just that's all it is in a different form. And I find it quite interesting, like how the message of the painting that I personally think there is, how that can speak to the poetry and how the poetry can speak to it, you know. It's really cool. So yeah, again, blessed to have been experienced with reading some poetry, you know, like how lucky is that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose as well that poetry is painting a picture with words, and so that kind of like, or the crossover, we could get really deep there, couldn't we, I suppose.
So end up crying and in a mess, so we can't go into it too much. But God, yeah.
So how would you describe your present style? I understand it's varied a bit over time as well.
So it's just simply whatever happens. So at the moment it's representational, painted in an abstract way. So that's kind of what's developed. Again, there's been no like set purpose to do that. That's just what's happened, and that's just kind of what I've enjoyed painting. Like that's what I do, really. I just do what I enjoy. So yeah, I enjoy doing that style at the moment. So we'll see what happens later, but so it's exciting. That's simple.
Yeah, do what you love what you do. That's
I totally
think. And so who would you list as your main influencers then?
So David Hockney, Paul Gauguin, Matisse, Picasso, Georgia O'Keeffe, Damien Hirst in a way. But so it's kind of all the sunny, or they don't always have a sunny message, but sunny, colourful, just attractive paintings. And so that's it. Like I just like their work, and I don't know a lot about them, but I just love their artwork, and have heard some things about them, and so that's it.
And I was going to ask you this before. What type of music do you listen to while you're working?
So I have like I have a varied style. So like Asian drum and bass, with it like opposed to like classical or gospel or R&B or trance, like basically any music you can think of, rock, anything.
Yeah, and a bit like me, I'm a bit like that.
Like,
yeah.
It just, I don't know how I'm coming across. Maybe I'm coming across as like some total weirdo. But anyway, I just
so not the top 10 then.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a few pieces that I think, I'd like to get up on screen for you to talk a little bit about. And let's have a look at this one here. What's this called?
So there we go. So this is the Wallflower. This is a bit of an older painting of mine. Somebody told me that you shouldn't, as an artist these days, you shouldn't paint flowers, and that really annoyed me. So I started painting flowers. So that's kind of that's it really. Just kind of loving the colours and celebrating beauty and how things aren't always what they seem.
I love that. Somebody says artists shouldn't paint flowers. Well, then I'm going to paint a flower. It's like, screw you.
Yeah.
Excellent. And what about this one?
You said it.
Yeah.
It's Richard's fault. So this is Fountain of Hope. My mum wanted a fountain, and I had this. It's actually a 6-foot tall painting, 2 foot wide by 6 foot tall, and it's like a celebration of love and a return to to painting because I had a bit of a break. I was kind of working on, not a huge break, but I was working on other things, and I kind of painted this to kind of, come back into my studio and everything. So that's kind of the story about that one.
That's some great imagery, just coming back into it with a fountain and
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Okay,
So this
and this
is
one.
I love this one. So this is into neon, and it's kind of like somebody came to our house, like this workman, and he was like, "Oh, you love Jackson Pollock?" And I was like, "No, I like." I mean, I think he's great, but I just did this because this is what I felt, and also, again, it's kind of like against what you're supposed to do because some people say like, "Oh, you're not supposed to do textured paintings. You're supposed to like, it's got to be perfectly flat, like that's how a painting should be." And I kind of noticed this kind of like some uh trends to kind of do paintings in a certain way, and I don't really like that, so I did my own. And when you see the detail on this as well, and you'd have to see it in person, but it's incredibly detailed, and it's just layer after layer after layer after layer of paint. So yeah, and it's really fun to do as well.
It looks very fun. It looks fun to do. I mean, I can imagine really going for it.
Yeah.
A good workout maybe as well.
That's what I mean.
and and finally this one here, which has got some Shakespeare in the top left corner there.
Yeah, my friend saw this on Facebook, and she said that this is like the perfect way to describe art, like particularly the sonnet, and then there's kind of the two trees almost nodding to each other. So if you kind of were to Google that sonnet, it would make more sense. And I'm not going to pretend to be an expert, so I'm not going to explain it to you. But so it's just a kind of celebration of my love of color. I just adore it. There's nothing kind of majorly purposeful or for any reason. I just enjoy bright colors, and I love pink. I normally have pink hair. And so it's kind of really simple, in some ways, but yeah, it's kind of art talking to itself.
Yeah. And what's the name of this piece? Sorry.
Pink.
Pink. Excellent. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for going through
We
those.
laugh so much. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
No, it's absolutely fine. Hey, this is fun. Are you having fun? That's the main
Yes,
thing.
I'm having amazing time. So yeah, so that's your fault, Rich. If I
Good,
laugh too
good.
much, it's all because of you.
That's good. I like to make people laugh. So now I got 3 quick fire questions here. Well, they don't have to be quick fire, but what role does the artist have in society?
I would say, what role does the artist have in society? I would say to offer a welcome break from daily harsh realities or boredom or upset. It's kind of like, again, hope, really, and a welcome break from the mundane.
Yeah, hope. I like that. You mentioned hope a few times, which is great. I think we certainly need a bit of that at the moment.
Yeah, don't we? Totally.
Yes. Yeah. Next question: who's the best artist that has ever lived, and they can be alive or dead?
Oh, I have a painting on a blanket that I bought of Romeo and Juliet. It's my most favorite painting. Absolutely nothing like the art I do, but but it's by an artist that I hadn't heard of him before I saw it online. It's an artist called Sir Frank Dixie, and it's kind of, I can't actually grab it because the dogs have ripped holes in it because they love being with that blanket, so I can't show it to you. But I don't know if it's Renaissance or something. It was a beautiful Romeo and Juliet painting, and so that's kind of my favorite painting ever, and that's my favorite artist because of that painting. So
Excellent.
yeah, I'm not sure what century it was, but yeah.
What was their name? Sorry.
So it's Romeo and Juliet by Sir Frank Dixie.
Okay, Sir Frank Dixie. Okay, excellent. And what would you say to an aspiring artist, somebody perhaps who's young, studying at university, perhaps, about how to make a successful career in art?
Yeah, so I would say it's really hard. Don't give up your day job because it takes a really long time to get going. I would say read Jerry Saltz's The New York Times Critic, his books, they're really good. And I would also say join some art business Facebook groups. There are some that it's not too much a month, you don't have to spend hundreds or anything like that, but just a little bit a month, just to have someone to check in with, to ask questions about the art world, and whether because there are quite a lot of sadly there are quite a lot of scams out there. So yeah, I mean, Praxis Centre for Aesthetic Studies is based in New York. That's a really good, solid, honest art business group on Facebook.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. Okay, well, thank you very much for that. And I think one final question to top it all off, to end the podcast. How do you feel New Art Gallery has helped more people appreciate your work?
I just feel that it's so nice to have somewhere local, and David and Margaret are amazing, and it's just promotion, confidence, like hugs. Like someone to touch base with nearby, and just kind of say, oh, and just take you through again, a bit like the art business Facebook group, like people to actually mentor you in even in a small way, and just really give you the cheerleading that you need at times. So yeah, but they're super busy now, like amazing how much they've grown and what they've done. So yeah, but I'm really grateful to Margaret and David. Hi guys. So yeah.
Shout out. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Brilliant. That's great to hear, Caroline. And I've loved chatting to you. And thank you very much for joining us on the podcast. And hopefully we'll speak again soon.
Okay, great. See you later.
Cheers. Bye-bye now.